Kia ora team. Ever wondered why your pace drops halfway through your parkrun? Let's find out why with today's analysis. I'm Coach Ray. I am a running coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. In this week's Not Parkrun Progress Report, we're looking at the results of one of my athletes in the Wellington Waterfront 5K from a couple of weeks ago on the 27th of January. Now the results aren't available yet, but we can see that he ran a 30:30 or thereabouts, depending on whether you're looking in Training Peaks or in Strava. But the course, nice and simple, start beside Te Papa, follow the waterfront all the way around, looping round Schaefer's Wharf, back on the waterfront, following around past Oriental Beach, Freiburg Beach to the turnaround point on Oriental Parade, following that all the way back around the wharf and back to the start finish line. Now, if we look at the Strava flyby, because I ran this not with him, but ran the event as well, we'll see a contrast between his performance and my performance. And you can have a look at my thoughts on my own performance in last week's Not Parkrun Progress Report. Let's have a quick watch of the flybys. I am a faster runner than Gareth, so it's no surprise that I pulled ahead and stayed ahead the whole race. Out to the turnaround point for me, flicked through, a quick high five as we went past each other. And then Gareth's pace, you'll see it wiggles and wobbles a little bit, and we'll have a look at that in a few seconds. The GPS track isn't perfect because I know he didn't go out amongst the yachts in the marina before getting back to Te Papa. Let's have a look at some of the data. And you can see he had a few walking breaks because he got challenged, and I'll cover off on those later. But that's not necessarily a failure as in the traditional sense. In fact, he set a number of PBs around this course, so that was really good to see. 4 different Strava segments he PB'd there. If we look at some of the details, this is not a fitness failure, but it was a pacing and durability challenge for him. 30 minutes and 30 seconds with walking breaks can look rough on paper, but the data clearly shows Gareth wasn't blowing up. In the classic sense, what we see instead is early enthusiasm, rising physiological cost, loss of running economy, and walking used as a self-regulation tool. That's a very different story from ran out of fitness. The first 2 kilometres were ambitious, but not reckless. The first kilometre was a 5:19. Normalised power of 327 watts. Heart rate averaged 147, maxed out at 162, and his cadence was 165 RPMs. His second kilometre, normalised power, or he did a 5:25. Normalised power was 317 watts. Heart rate averaged 157, max of 160, and his cadence was 164. This is actually a reasonable opening for someone who is aiming to run continuously. Power is high, but not absurd. Cadence is stable. Heart rate is rising through these first 2 kilometres. However, the key issue is that power level was not yet sustainable for Gareth across a full 5 kilometres, especially on a flat course where there's no terrain to break things up. The wheels didn't fall off in the 3rd kilometre. Running economy did. This is where he had his first walking breaks. You can see that change in pace where the pace drops down, the power drops down, the cadence drops down, and in some instances where it was a little bit longer, you can see that heart rate drops a little as well. It doesn't for the shorter ones, but it does for that slightly longer one. He ran a 6:12. Normalised power was 271. Average heart rate was 155, max of 160, and his cadence was 157. This is the turning point for Gareth. What stands out was his power drops sharply from 327 previously down to 271 watts. his cadence drops from 165 to 157, and his heart rate stays relatively high. That combination is textbook loss of running economy. He wasn't suddenly less fit, he simply couldn't maintain the same mechanical output at that time, at that effort anymore. Walking briefly allowed him to reset. Walking didn't tank the run, it prevented a complete collapse. If we look at the 4th kilometre, he had another couple of significant walking breaks in there. He ran a 6:45, normalised power of 265 watts, average heart rate of 148, max at 157, and his cadence was 153. Just checking my notes here. That shows a further reduction in cadence, a lower power. Heart rate was stabilising or slightly dropping. It's a bit hard to see because it dropped significantly at a couple of points, but overall relatively stable on average. It tells us the walking breaks were doing exactly as they should, keeping him in the game rather than forcing a total shutdown. From a coaching perspective, that's actually good instinct for someone trying to survive through as fast as they can. The most important sign, Gareth could still engage in the 5th kilometre. He ran a 6:35 basically, normalised power of 284 watts, average heart rate of 152 with a max of 162, and his average cadence was 154. Despite the most substantial walking break, I think it was about 45 seconds that one, and a general slowing down here before this walking break, or a general decrease in power. Despite the most substantial walking break there, power comes back up overall. Heart rate rises again slightly, and cadence also lifts slightly as he pushes towards the finish. Now this final 50 metres, because his total distance was 5.05 as recorded on his Garmin, he ran that at an average of 440 pace. No normalised power for it, but his average power was 369 watts. His heart rate averaged 161, max of 162, and his cadence was 170. This is hugely important because it provides or proves the engine wasn't empty. Neuromuscular capacity was still there. Gareth could switch back on when asked, i.e. when he asked himself to. That's not someone who's failed a 5K, that's someone whose durability threshold was exceeded mid-run. The big pattern, and this is the key insight here, across the run we see the power decrease, we see the cadence decrease. Heart rate is relatively stable, pace decreases overall, and walking was used as regulation. That pattern almost always points to insufficient aerobic durability at that starting power, i.e. Gareth started too quick, not as a result of lack of will or a lack of courage. The coaching takeaway is that this run gives you 3 very clear coaching messages, if I can get those words out. Gareth's early pace was just a little bit too ambitious for running continuously at that effort. The walking didn't ruin his event, it preserved it. And the ability to surge late means that there's really upside once that durability improves. If he was to rerun this event with slightly less opening power, say about 300 watts instead of the 327 watts, keeping that cadence nice and stable early, deliberate mental cues of run tall, run fast, it's very likely that Gareth could reduce the walking breaks, hold his rhythm longer, and finish significantly faster without needing more top-end speed. The bottom line, this performance is best described as a controlled overreach that exposed the next training priority, aerobic durability, not speed. That makes an excellent candidate for a not parkrun progress report, because this shows exactly how to turn a tough race into a clear, constructive next step. If you found this analysis helpful, imagine what a structured 4-week plan could do for your running. Hit the link below to get started.